Did you ever wish you could simply turn on a switch and start optimizing with your Facebook ad pixel only for qualified buyers? What do I mean by that? Well, you don't want the bad leads, the ones that don't book calls, the ones that don't convert. Or as an e-commerce business, you want the highest value purchasers. Well, I'm here to show you in today's video that you can actually train and condition your pixel to only go after qualified individuals. Now, if you're new to the channel, you don't yet know who I am. My name is Justin Lalonde, and I'm the founder at pitadvertising.com, where on the one hand, we help businesses implement a scalable ad engine, and on the other, we grow e-com and info businesses to multi-seven figures with paid ads. We've profitably spent and advised on over $15 million in ad spend in the last 12 months alone, and let's get straight into today's video. So, I want to start off this video by showing you one of our client ad accounts and a transformation that we've undergone with them in the last month and a half or 2 months, give or take. So this was their account as of March, okay? This is in info product / coaching business. The two campaigns I've highlighted at the top are actually sales campaigns. The one at the bottom is a hiring campaign. So if you look at the ones at the top right here, our cost per lead was about $22, give or take, right here. And then I'll show you like the first week of April, which is pretty much where we installed Hyros for the first time on this business. So a little lower in terms of cost per lead, nonetheless, like about $18 to $17 cost per lead right here. And then if I show you from Hyros right here, it actually was significantly higher from what Hyros was telling us. So about $33 a lead. But then take a look at this, okay? Cost per call was about $500 and CAC was $3,400. Now, this is pretty crazy, okay? Nonetheless, this is profitable in the sense that this client was selling a $10,000 high-ticket product. So you could say they were ROAS positive on the front end here, but still relatively high for where we want to be, okay? This is not even a 3x ROAS in terms of CAC to LTV ratio for this client. So we're not even talking about a 3x ROAS from a CAC to total client value ratio right here. So that being said, what did we do? Well, there's two things that we've implemented and that you can also implement here at home for your own business or ad account. I'm going to start off by talking about what I did for this info and coaching business, and also then get into how that is also applicable to e-commerce businesses. So right here, if you're using something like Go High Level as an example, which I highly recommend, it's probably the best platform in terms of data segmenting and ease of pixel conditioning. So what you can do is this. So now I'm going to show you the events that I've done for my own business, where right here, what you can simply do is, like as an example in GHL, is anytime somebody books in an appointment, you send an event back to your Facebook's conversion API, which actually is a schedule event in this case. Now, it could be the same thing right here for a lead. Anytime a lead opts in, guess what? You send a lead event back to Meta. Now, anytime a purchase happens, which this is where it gets really interesting for an info business, it's either when somebody makes like a checkout by themselves, so they like make a sale essentially through one of your self-checkout funnels, or I could also add a trigger where, as an example, it could be like opportunity status changed, and then I could change my filter right here, right there. So as an example, whenever my opportunity moved to status, let's say 1. So anytime one of my closers marks an opportunity as 1, it would trigger a sale event and send this back to Meta as a purchase event. I can even input a custom value here for what that purchase is so that I can see then this sale amount on Meta. Now, up until now, you might be saying, Justin, how are you training your pixel? I'm not. So far, all I'm showing you is how to send conversion API events back to Meta for every single event in your tech stack, if you want, or in your funnel. Now, where it gets really interesting is, well, if I go back as an example to something like survey submitted, okay? So right here, I have a trigger where anytime I have a survey submitted, right here, I have a submit application event sent back to Meta. Now, when it comes to pixel conditioning, the best part in here is that you can segment this data. So I can say, okay, anytime I have a survey submitted, which this survey specifically is, let's say, pre-call intake agency form. And then from there, what I could do is in my custom fields, essentially, that I have in this form. So as an example, I could find, like I have right here, monthly revenue. So if monthly revenue is 20,000, and then I could add other filters. So I'm going to go back with monthly revenue right here. So if monthly revenue is either 20,000 to 50,000, 50,000 to 100,000, and I would repeat this for, let's say, 100,000 and 250,000. So basically, if monthly revenue is anything but this here, which is 0 to 20,000, then send this event back to Meta as a submit application. And so now what starts happening is you're not sending every survey back to Meta. You're only sending qualified surveys back to Meta. So Meta is going to start learning about what is a qualified survey and not any survey. The best part is you still get the non-qualified surveys, meaning if these people apply to work with you in your coaching or info product business, you still get those conversions through. You can still work those leads. You can still have segmentation in your, let's say, email marketing or SMS or your appointment setter systems. But Meta doesn't get this data. And so therefore, Meta starts optimizing only for higher value individuals, right? Or people with more intent. So that's the first thing. Now, the second thing, which I think goes without saying, is you can optimize for events downstream from lead. And I say this, which to me sounds so simple, but like this account right here, we're talking about a multi-seven-figure business who still and only had been optimizing for leads since the start of the business. They had never optimized for calls or for customer acquisition or customers acquired, so CAC or purchases, right? Well, what we then did is also change our optimization event on the ads, so on the ads manager to start optimizing for calls. So not only now can we have higher quality leads, but we can also optimize for an event that's more downstream. And so if you now look, let's say into, again, going back $18 to $17 a lead that we were getting as early April. Now, if I show you what this looked like from late April, this is like April 15th to 30th, we started optimizing for a call scheduled. We're talking $12 per call. We were at $18 to $19 a lead. Now we are at $12 per call, which is insane if you think about it, right? And now if I show you, let's say what cost per lead is in that case, you can see it here. So I'm going to go leads and cost per lead. So right here on the right-hand side, $6 a lead. So we slashed, or actually $4 a lead right here, because this also counts the hiring campaigns that we have right there. $4 a lead is less than 25% of the original cost per lead that we were getting. So we slashed CPL by 4 times, and now cost per call is about 12 bucks. And so if I now show you how all of April, or at least most of April, all the way to now in May went, it went like this. $500,000 in revenue, $7.7 cost per lead. And in fact, this is skewed, okay? Because this also counts all of the ad spend that we spent for hiring, which again, increases like this in general, okay? Cost per call started shooting up. Why? Because we did not have any slots left on our closers calendar, which is why we now have to start spending a lot more on hiring ads. Now, CAC, as you can see right here, if you remember from what it was earlier at the start of April, right? Here it's $600 CAC. If I show you again the first week of April, 3.4K CAC. So we slashed customer acquisition cost by, honestly, I mean, about at least 5-fold right here in order to, just by simply changing our optimization events and better conditioning our pixel to go after events that are more down in the funnel, and also only sending it data from qualified customers. And that's one example of who we did this for. As an example, this is one of our crypto trading clients right here, which if you look, let's say last 30 days, spent about close to $200,000 on ads right here. Now, these guys had been optimizing for, again, cost per lead. Same exact scenario, never ever optimize for anything more than cost per lead. Now, what we just started is we started new campaigns where we're optimizing for an application submitted. Now, very low ad spend granted, okay, we just launched those yesterday. But if you look, let's say yesterday, okay, and you compare those to some of the other campaigns that were ran. Now, the event right here and the way their funnel is built is opt-in, so a lead, then VSL, application, then call, right? So if you look at this right here, look at those campaigns cost per lead, right? Let's say $299 spent on ads, about $400 spent on ads, and we're talking about $100 cost per lead. Now, right now, we started slowly moving down in terms of events because those events weren't even tracked by the pixel before. So now we finally installed those events through Go level to start pushing those events to Meta. So now we're going for an application submitted. Well, you can kind of understand here that if our cost per application is 30 bucks or even 60 bucks, well, you can imagine how low our cost per lead is as compared to these ads right here. And so again, this is another case of us being in progress of, one, better using like downstream events in the funnel, and two, making sure that through what I showed you earlier, sending only certain events back to Meta from the conversions API. Now, you might be asking yourself, how exactly does that apply to e-commerce businesses? Well, you may or may not be familiar with businesses like Elevar as an example, which Elevar is one of the solutions that I know can actually allow you to segment data before having it sent back to Meta's conversion API. And so what you can do as an example is either through something like Elevar or something like Google Tag Manager, utilizing a middleware if you want, you can actually send specific AOV transactions to Meta. What do I mean by that is, let's say as an e-com brand, any purchases worth $100 or more would only be the ones that you would send back to Meta as a purchase event. Now, you might be telling me, Justin, why am I going to do this? Okay, isn't that going to skew all of my data? Well, not going to lie, if you start doing that, you probably need a third-party attribution software like Hyros, say for your info product or coaching company, or something like TripleWell or even Elevar can help you to some extent for your e-commerce brand, because these will show you like total amount of sales and whatnot, which you still want to be able to see, right? Because by segmenting this data and only sending back like certain, let's say, qualified purchases to Meta, well, you won't get all of your purchase data back to Meta. So again, it's going to skew your data, but it will train Meta to find you higher quality individuals, which is what you want at the end of the day. Now, I also hear some of you already playing devil's advocate here and telling me, Justin, why can't I simply make a custom conversion event and use this custom conversion event to, let's say, push some specific AOV sales or specific, say, leads or qualified, surveys or whatever? Well, the problem is that if you set up custom conversion events, Meta does not have any data whatsoever about these custom conversions. What do I mean by that? When using standard events like a purchase, like a schedule, like a lead, those are events that not just you is using. Every other advertiser on Meta uses those events. And so Meta has a lot of data points about users, and they will categorize users in certain buckets. And they'll know that certain users are more likely to purchase versus certain users are more likely to become a lead. Certain users are more likely to become an application submitted. And so therefore, if you optimize for a custom conversion event, Meta has no reference point in terms of who is most likely to convert on this event. So sometimes the data is going to be a little skewed about these specific events because, again, especially at the start, like once you first launch them, it'll take a bit of a tank in the ad account usually with a custom conversion event, but it'll get back up in a longer run. Now, I definitely do want to shout out Jeremy Haynes for this. He made a similar video on his channel a couple months ago. I also used to be a mentee of Jeremy, so he was the first person to kind of tell me about segmenting data with your ad account. So again, a huge shout out to Jeremy Haynes for teaching me about this. Now, if you made it all the way through this video and you are an e-commerce or info product business wanting to work with a paid ads partner on Meta, Google, or TikTok, check out the first link in the description down below to book in a call with myself and the team at paidadvertising.com today. And on another note, if you want to work personally with me one-on-one and have me review your paid ads, your funnels, offers, tracking, backend, name it, and learn from all the ways in which I run ads, check out a second link down below to join my Ad Engine one-on-one inner circle. On that note, I'm going to wish you an amazing day. Check out other videos on the channel for some more useful e-commerce and info product marketing tips, and I'll see you at the next one. Peace.